The U.S. Army is working on a strategic long-range cannon, or SLRC, that could hit targets at a distance of more than 1,000 miles or 1,600 kilometers away. Though this is currently at the concept stage, newly leaked images of the super cannon gives us an idea of how it will shape up. The SLRC could give the U.S. Army a deep strike capability that the U.S. Air Force and U.S. Navy have with their warplanes and cruise missiles. The Army's Combat Capabilities Development Command in late February posted on professional networking site LinkedIn an artist's impression of the cannon. At present, U.S. Army's largest guns are M109A7 Paladin self-propelled howitzer and the M777 towed howitzer. Both of these are 155mm guns and have a range of 18.6 miles or 30 kilometers. The long-range land attack projectile, a shell especially developed for the Zumwalt-class of destroyers, which was ultimately canceled due to high cost, has range of 85 miles or 135 kilometers. To give the viewer a perspective, it's to be noted that even the massive 16-inch guns of the Iowa-class battleships had a range of only 23 miles or 37 kilometers. The SLRC could change the way the U.S. military fights a war in the future. In this video, Defense Updates analyzes why U.S. Army's Strategic Long-Range Cannon, SLRC, is very bad news for Russia and China. Let's get started. This video is sponsored by War Thunder, the most comprehensive military vehicle online game for PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One, in which you can go to battle on more than 1,200 playable aircraft, tanks, helicopters, and ships from the 1930s to the 1990s. The game has an amazing attention to detail and focuses on a realistic combat experience, which is why knowing your vehicles and skill really makes a difference. It's easy to get into, and all you need to play is nothing more but your mouse and keyboard or controller. Immerse yourself in cross-platform combat with more than 20 million other military vehicle enthusiasts from all over the world. Download and play War Thunder for free using the link in the description below, and also get a free bonus tank, aircraft, or ship, and 3 days of premium account. Though sometimes overlooked, artilleries are important and can be very useful tactically. For example, during the U.S.-North Korea crisis, the artillery had a major impact. North Korea's Coxswain artillery piece had a range of about 25 miles or 40 kilometers using conventional projectiles. However, South Korea's capital Seoul is well within the range of the Korean People's Army rocket-assisted shells, which have a range of around 40 miles or 60 kilometers if the guns are stationed near the border region. Being self-propelled, 170mm Coxswain can be easily moved close to the international border and can be used to target Seoul. Placed into hard granite mountain faces and protected behind blast doors, these Coxswains will be hard to detect as well as very complicated to neutralize. An artillery barrage in North Korea would have resulted in catastrophic loss of life, and one of the reasons why the U.S. didn't attack North Korea. Strategic long-range cannon would most likely have a very specific purpose. Countries like Russia and China have been developing sophisticated layered air defense. These systems will make sure that even American stealth jets like the F-22 Raptor, F-35 Lightning, and B-2 Spirit cannot operate with impunity. For example, Russia has deployed S-400 air defense system. S-400 Triumph is an anti-aircraft weapon system developed by Russia's Almaz Central Design Bureau in the 1990s as an upgrade of the S-300 family. It can track hundreds of targets at a time, engage up to 36 targets in parallel, and simultaneously launch 72 missiles. Russia is also working on S-500, which will be even more potent. Also, American rivals are developing long-range, land-based anti-ship missiles that can threaten the U.S. Navy's warship from far off. For example, China has deployed the YJ-12 anti-ship missile on several islands in the South China Sea. It has a maximum range of 380 kilometers or 236 miles and can reach a maximum speed of Mach 3.2. Strategic long-range cannon will be used to decimate these kinds of threats. During World War II, the Germans built 2 of the heavy Gustavs and deployed them on the Eastern Front for the sieges of Sevastopol, Leningrad, and Stalingrad. The guns fired 48 shells in combat and demolished some Soviet fortifications. It took thousands of men to deploy a heavy Gustav and 500 men just to fire it. In relatively recent times, Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein tried to develop a supergun through Project Babylon. It actually involved building a series of superguns. The design was based on research from the 1960s Project HARP, led by the Canadian artillery expert Gerald Bull. There were most likely 4 different devices in the program. The project began in 1988. It was halted in 1990 after Bull was assassinated, and parts of the superguns were seized in transit around Europe. The components that remained in Iraq were destroyed by the United Nations after the 1991 Persian Gulf War. In 2017, the U.S. Army revealed they were studying the development of a strategic long-range cannon that could strike targets up to 1,150 miles away. Then, in October 2019, Artillery Modernization Chief Colonel John Rafferty told Defense News in an interview that the U.S. Army planned to begin early tests to determine the viability of the weapon at the Naval Support Facility in Dahlgren, Virginia. The image depicts a huge cannon on a trailer with at least 6 wheels, under tow by a heavy truck itself with at least 8 wheels. Reports indicate that each cannon would require 8 soldiers to operate it, and a battery would have 4 guns. A large trapezoidal mount will be used to absorb the recoil produced by such a powerful weapon. The SLRC would be transportable by air and sea. A prime mover with a separate wheeled trailer attached on the opposite side of the mount will be used to tow the gun. So it can be said that the gun will not truly be mobile, but can be shifted from one place to the other. The super cannon will basically be a supersized version of current guns, and in all probability use a traditional explosive charge to hurl the shells. In October 2018, Colonel John Rafferty told reporters, "I don't want to oversimplify, but it's a bigger one of those. We're scaling up things that we're already doing. The shells in all probability will be much smaller than that of the 1,322-pound shell of proposed Big Babylon gun, so that it can attain greater range. The shells will most likely be GPS enabled so that they have high precision." In 2016, former National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster told Congress that U.S. field artillery is outranged and outgunned by its Russian and Chinese counterparts. Viewers may note that, keeping this view, in 2017, the Army Chief of Staff, General Mark Milley, officially made long-range precision fires, LRPF, the U.S. Army's #1 priority. LRPF is an umbrella program of which Strategic Long-Range Cannon is a part. According to the Secretary of the Army, Mark Esper, who says that the fantastical weapon would open the door to other services, blasting enemy defenses before they have a chance to open fire on U.S. Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps forces converging on the region. Esper was quoted in Task and Purpose, having said that the gun could sit in a gun pit on the edge of the South China Sea. As per him, the gun could destroy Chinese warships and military targets on islands across the South China Sea, destroying air defenses, radar installations, anti-ship missiles, and even air bases. A supergun deployed in the Philippine archipelago on the eastern edge of the South China Sea could hit Chinese military installations in both the Spratly and Paracel island chains, including air bases on Subi Reef and Fiery Cross Reef. This could severely degrade Chinese defense and enable U.S. forces to mount an offensive. The gun could be handy against Russia, too. A gun like this, based in southern Germany, could potentially hit Russian military assets in western parts of Russia.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your feedback in the comment section. This will help us improve.